Okay, a father and son living off of the grid for 20 years encounter an outsider who threatens to destroy the utopia that they have built. This is my review for the movie Last Survivors. Okay, yeah, so I sat down, I thought I'd watch this film, Last Survivors. Now, I was a bit reluctant going into it because Alicia Silverstone. Now, ironically, this will be the second film in 2 weeks that I've watched with Alicia Silverstone. The first being the Requiem, the shark film that I did review, and it was god-awful and she was pretty bad in it. So I thought to myself, all right, I'll give this a go because it's a sort of survival story, this sort of a thing, and I'm sort of into that storytelling, so I thought, why not give it a watch? What's the worst that can happen? So I am going to speak about the film now, and I'm going to put up a spoiler warning because I'm going to get into spoiler territory, but when this warning disappears, you know that I've finished with talking about that, and I'll talk about my thoughts on the film without spoiling it. So when this disappears, then you know you're free from spoilers. So okay, so like I said, this film is set it's set in the wilderness, shall we say, yes, and we're introduced to these two characters. Drew Van Acker plays Jake. Now Drew Van Acker, he ain't done too much. He's been in a couple of episodes of Teen Titans as Aqualad and some few other bits that I'm unaware of. And Stephen Moyer plays his father, Troy. Now, Stephen Moyer you would recognise from True Blood. Obviously, Alicia Silverstone as well stars as a character called Henrietta. Now, we're introduced to Stephen Moyer and Drew Van Acker's characters, Troy and Jake, father and son living in the wilderness. We're told by his father that we're living in this post-apocalyptic future, that basically the world's gone to crap, that World War III has happened, there has been wars, and they've got away from it and escaped, and they've got to kill anyone that comes and finds them because the outside world, people are bad, people want to destroy their way of life and all this sort of a thing. So he's fed this narrative to his son growing up. His son knows nothing else and believes his dad. So they've lived on their own in isolation for these 20 years. In the course of the film, Troy, the father, he gets injured, and this causes Jake having to go out further afield than what he normally would to try and find medicine and this sort of a thing. And he comes across a house and occupied by Henrietta, Alicia Silverstone's character. Now, he doesn't kill her like his father has told him to do of anyone that he encounters. He sort of befriends her reluctantly, and they sort of form a bond, form a relationship. But as the story progresses, you come to find out that there hasn't been no World War III, that that his son has been lied to the entire time, and his father finds out about the relationship between Jake and Henrietta. We find a lot about Henrietta's past and this sort of a thing, and the police get involved because people have gone missing in the woods and this sort of a thing, because obviously Troy has been killing people who've got close, like hunters in the wood and this sort of a thing. And yeah, so it's this sort of a narrative, and that's about it really. The story progresses, you can sort of figure out what's going to happen, but I'll leave that there. I'll park the storyline for the film there, but I will say, and this is spoiler territory, so I'll keep that up, is that I like the fact that you've got this young man of 20 who's been brainwashed essentially by his father into believing that World War III has occurred, that the world has been destroyed, burnt by fire, all this sort of a thing, and they have to survive on their own in the woods, living off the land and all this sort of malarkey. I found that very an intriguing plot device. So anyway, So let's get into the film without talking about spoilers now. Now, like I said, Alicia Silverstone, I was reluctant going into the film because of her, but I'll be honest, her performance was pretty damn good in this. I actually enjoyed her. I enjoyed her character. I enjoyed the growth that her character had throughout the narrative of the film. Troy and Jake, again, you know, Drew Van Acker was fine as Jake. I think the film had a liking for his body, shall we say, because they like to show his posterior quite a bit within this film. Yeah, I don't know why. But he was fine as the character Jake, and again, fantastic growth of his character throughout the film as he comes to understand the truth of what's occurred and his fight against that truth, but then realising, you know, how twisted things have become from how he's been living and this sort of a thing. And Henrietta, Alicia Silverstone, the growth of her character, with what we find out about her past and the meeting of Jake and what that interaction with him does for her and her life and where her life's at within the film. So yeah, all that's very fantastic. I think the film was competently shot. The film was directed by Drew Milria, who has directed nothing of consequence, I'll be honest, and written by Josh Tanowicz, who has written a couple of things, and he's had small-time acting credits in stuff as far back as Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, the second Charlie's Angels film. Yeah, but that aside, the fact that they've pretty much new to this and done nothing before, the film is competently directed. It looks really nice. It's got some very nice camera angles, some very nice shots with lighting, and it knows the beauty of the land that it's filming within, shall we say. It's very aesthetically pleasing in that sense. Like I said, from a story perspective, I enjoy stories of post-apocalyptic future, and although, you know, and I enjoy stories of survival and all this sort of a thing. So this film was right up my alley, although I expected to go in and be giving you a review completely different than what I'm giving you. My gut entering into this is I was going to give you a bad review of a bad film, but I was pleasantly surprised that this film is actually rather competently made. Has got an interesting, intriguing story for the thriller that it is, and yeah, just overall I was quite impressed. I mean, it's not the best film I've seen. It's not going to set the box office alight. It's not going to win awards or anything like this. But it's an enjoyable, emotional ride of a film with enough twists and turns in its story as things develop that you're left pleasantly surprised. So that's it. That's all I can really say about the film. Unfortunately, I've got no trivia for you for this film because it's brand new and there's very little about it that I can find. But there you go. So I'm going to leave it there. Positive review, thumbs up. I'd recommend it as a watch if you like slow burn films. Yeah, it didn't bore me, let's just say that. The film runs for 1 hour and 38 minutes, and I didn't have a boring time with it whatsoever. Anyway, so that was just a quick review for this movie. This is AJ. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care all, and goodbye.